Hello again, everyone. I'm Frederica Whitfield. We have just learned new information about the grand jury deliberating the case of Ferguson police officer Darren Wilson. Sources tell CNN Justice reporter Evan Perez that the jury did not reach a decision last night. It's unclear when the panel will reconvene, but law enforcement officials are preparing for protests and potential unrest when that decision is rendered. More than 100 protesters hit the streets last night. They remained peaceful, but at times blocked traffic. Police say 3 people were arrested for unlawful assembly. Let's go now to Ed Lavandera, who is in Ferguson. So, Ed, how are people, I guess, bracing themselves for any news of a decision?
Well, we've seen signs that especially law enforcement, are doing the preparation to get ready for any potential unrest. As you mentioned, Frederica, barricades going up around the county courthouse where the grand jury has been deliberating and where prosecutors, the lead prosecutor, has been heavily criticized over the last few months, where his offices are. And then you have people here on the streets of Ferguson, many of which who have been spending the last 3 months trying to calm nerves and reiterate to people that if they're going to protest, to do it peacefully.
Hurting others or destroying property is not the answer.
You need to stop throwing objects and disperse immediately.
You were one of a handful of people who were in the middle of it all, trying to keep the peace. You were like the last line of defense before things went crazy. I watched it. What was it like to be there on that line?
Every night that I went out there, I looked at my wife and I looked at my children, and I didn't know if I was coming home.
On this stretch of road in Ferguson, Missouri, on the nights the protests turned violent, there was a small group of peacekeepers, mostly local religious leaders, who put themselves between the cops and the protesters, putting their lives on the line.
We were the last line of defense, and if we was to fail out there, if we would have not succeeded out there, man, could you imagine the blood that would have been on that street?
So I've gone back and found a couple of those peacekeepers that I met on those nights here on this street to talk to them about what it was like and to get their perspective on what they fear might happen next here in Ferguson.
So you're in the middle of that crowd out there, and it's already tense. It's getting more tense, and you got a guy in front of you telling you, "I came here to die."
Well, his actual words were, "I came here to die tonight." And my response was, "Why don't you choose life? Why don't you choose to live? You don't have to come to die tonight."
You need to exit the roadway.
I am afraid as a citizen that there's going to be factions on both sides that's not going to be able to keep peace. I remember the night when the frustrations built up between the clergy and the police officers, and there was a disagreement with how the police were managing the people. And I remember when I was like, I'm done. I threw my hands up and I was ready to walk away. Well, there was a particular sergeant from the Highway Patrol, and as I was taking off my orange shirt and throwing in the towel, he took off his baton and his helmet, and he said, "If you quit, I'll quit." And he said, "But the reality is, there's bad protesters on your side," and he said, "There's bad cops on my side." He said, "But if you and I quit, they're going to clash." And right there in the middle of this street, right here on West Florida, he and I came to tears. And we promised each other that we were going to stand through until the end.
Will you be out here again, doing what you did last time?
We haven't left.
So, Frederica, you know, people like that, those folks that you heard from in that piece, over the last few months, they have been talking to people, trying to keep things as peaceful and prepare for this moment as much as possible. Frederica?
All right.